Hey, what's up, cats and kittens? And shout out to all my cerebralites. It is she, the Cerebral Diva, and I am back with another episode of Reality, and that's TEA because I give it to you scalding hot. So grab your cups, grab your saucers, gather around, and let's all partake in this libation of Basketball Wives tea. Okay, so here we are, Season 7, Episode 8. And for me, and tell me if I'm wrong, but for me, it's come down to Jen, Tammy, and Evelyn, and maybe just a little bit of Shawnee for this season. Everybody else to me are non-mother effing factors. Like, I don't care about the drama between Malaysia's relatives and the back and forth that they're having. To me, that storyline it's not really taking me anywhere. Maybe because I'm not really invested in them. Anyhow, so let's talk about the meat of the matter, and that is the fallout between Evelyn, Tammy, Jen, and Shawnee. Now I want to say this. I find it so interesting, right, that Jen has become public enemy number one. That she's being the one that's vilified. You know, it's like people are so myopic. Like they don't see the history of the things that Evelyn has done to Jen. A, she tried to block her money. Like she didn't even want Jen to be on Basketball Wives. She was stymieing Jen from returning to Basketball Wives. So if Jen said some things that were vindictive or malicious, so what? Because Evelyn was doing the same thing to her. So I don't understand why people are trying. And I think that that's why, excuse me, when you see Evelyn sort of being very forgiving of Jen, it's because Evelyn knows that she was partially, to a large degree, a reason for Jen's behavior. Like Jen wasn't just acting this way just because she had nothing better to do. So she wasn't just being vindictive for the sake of being vindictive. In addition to that, one of the things that I really find interesting, right, is that Shawnee says to Malaysia that Jennifer was essentially feeding Malaysia information and sort of using her as a go-between to spread all of this negative, this cancerous information about Shawnee's ex-boyfriend potentially sleeping with Evelyn. Now, it's amazing to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it is amazing to me that Shawnee O'Neal has the clarity to see Jen doing that, but she doesn't have the clarity to see that Tammy did the same exact thing. She started feeding the information that Jen gave to her to other people with the hopes that they would feed it to Shawnee. You tell her, Malaysia. You tell her, Jackie. She's putting everybody else up to doing the dirty work so her hands are clean. So how does that make Tammy any different from Jennifer in terms of them sort of using people as pawns to do their bidding, so to speak? It's just crazy to me. Like, this is one of those situations where if you're going to be fair, if you're going to be fair, fair being the operative word, if you're going to be fair, everybody in the situation has dirt on their hands. There's not a single person in this scenario that you can point to and say, this person is right. Jen did some BS, Tammy did some BS, Evelyn did some BS. And I guess if there were a person who was sort of the innocent one in it, it would be Shawnee because she was sort of thrown into the mix and didn't really have much to do with it. But you created this messy soup. You know, Shawnee is the one who created it and sort of creates the climate for this this sort of behavior to persist. So yeah, she has dirt on her hands too because she's the one who is sort of pulling the puppet mastering this whole melee of drama. So I don't give Shawnee a free pass either. So even though she didn't necessarily go out there and sort of create drama, you know, she's profiting off of the drama is basically what I'm trying to say. Basketball Wives is a show that is anchored and centered in drama. If there were no drama, there would be no Basketball Wives. So for Shawnee to get caught up in it, it's like, look, you created this beast. You baked this cake. So take a slice. Right? So beyond that, it was really interesting in this episode because we saw a side of Tammy that we don't normally see. Tammy's usually not the most vulnerable person. That's not her thing, and I can relate to her in a large degree. You know, I'm the strong friend, right? I'm always the friend who whenever I have a situation, people don't know about it because I don't tell them, because I internalize things and I try to fix them and put on a brave face, because I feel like that's what you're supposed to do. I don't really let people in when I have struggles, and part of the reason why I don't let people in if and when I do have struggles is because I feel like a lot of times people want to know your struggles because they want to use it against you at a later date and time. So that makes me reluctant to open up to people because I know the nature of human beings. So very often when I have struggle, and it's a catch-22, because on one hand, I'll be saying, wow, no one's there for me, no one supports me, no one cares about my struggles, no one cares about my issues, but at the same time, I'm keeping them to myself. So it's basically like a self-fulfilling prophecy, self-actualizing, if you will, that I am, whether conscious or subconscious, not giving people the opportunity to be there for me, but complaining about it at the same time. Now, that's me having an epiphany, a moment of self-awareness. A lot of people aren't able to look inward. They're not able to be introspective. People can very often see the flaws of other people and not their own flaws. But that's one of my flaws that I'm very, very well aware of. So when it comes to Tammy, and we saw Tammy break down. She talked about her diabetes. I never knew she was diabetic, and she talked about the diabetic nerve pain, which is essentially the reason why she walks funny. I never noticed that she walked funny. So there's a lot of things that Tammy's been internalizing and sort of putting up this wall, this very public face that I'm Tammy, no nonsense Tammy, because no nonsense, not taking anybody's BS is Tammy's brand. So seeing her be very vulnerable in that moment, I thought was a really, really cool thing, because it really humanized her to me. Because Tammy just has a resting bitch face. She just looks mean to me. Like, yeah. So it was really, yeah. She just looks really mean to me. So she's not the type of person, in my opinion, that has this sort of warm, open energy that says, "Come, talk to me, be my friend. Let's hang out." She doesn't really have that type. She has a very standoffish energy, in my opinion. So seeing her, and I love the fact, that this is a completely different season, right? When Jackie Christie becomes the voice of reason. I'm sitting there looking at Jackie counsel Tammy and sort of, correct Tammy's behavior, and I'm thinking to myself, you've come a long way, baby, because Jackie Christie was the queen of drama, and seeing her sort of on the outside, on the periphery of the drama, and trying to be the mediator, the liaison to bring everyone back together, I thought was really refreshing, and it actually showed a very endearing and very soft side of Jackie that we don't get to see very often too. So shout out to Jackie Christie. I like seeing her take on that, I wouldn't necessarily say more motherly role, but she's the grande dame when it comes to chronology or age, so to speak. So we expect a little bit more maturity, so it was nice to see her actually take on that role and really, really do it with a soft hand, and so much to the point, because she was correcting Tammy, but also letting her know, look, I'm your friend, I have your back, but I don't think what you said was necessarily right. And it was so funny, because and at one moment you hear Tammy say, well, maybe I was wrong, and it made I messed it up, you guys. My eyes began to tear. I'm like, oh my gosh, she does understand it. What she said may have went a little too far. And then in true Tammy fashion, she took it right back. She was like, maybe I was wrong for throwing her stuff in her face that she told me. And I'm like, oh, there's Tammy again. So it's going to be really interesting too, because also during this latest episode, we see that, and I don't know if it's editing or not, but it just seems really, really interesting. And speaking of the editing, was I the only one that noticed that they sort of reverted back to like the previous episode at the beginning of this episode? I'm like, why are they still at the quote unquote Ponderosa when we've already covered that? But that's how they began it. I just thought that was a little out of sequence. But speaking of that, it was really interesting that, after Tammy made light of the domestic violence, we see Evelyn really sort of going full throttle with her domestic violence advocacy. She's having this sort of charitable, philanthropic shoe event where, she's taking 15% of the profits from all the shoes that are sold that evening and donating them to her foundation. And I just thought that it was really interesting. I'm not sure if they edited it to look like it followed in the succession of the melee of Tammy and Evelyn, or if it actually happened in that way. But I just thought that that was really interesting. That suddenly, as soon as she's called a domestic violence victim, she really sort of grabs the torch and runs with it, which seemed a little opportunistic in my opinion, if I'm being completely honest. Um, but anyhow, so during the shoe event, Shawnee leaves early because apparently she can't stand the sight of Jen. And I'm telling you, Jen is about to become Brandy 2.0. That's how I feel. I don't know if Jen is going to make it'll be interesting to see because they need drama for the show to function. But sometimes the drama can become so dysfunctional that it's verging on violence and hate. And I think that the level of discourse that's happening is going to really go to another level because we even see in some of the clips for the upcoming episodes that Jennifer and Malaysia sort of have a fallout. So Jen's falling out with with everybody this season, and it's different because Jen was always the soft, quiet, diminutive, really soft spoken. That drama really isn't the Jen brand. But what I believe that Jen has been taking notes on how to stay relevant on reality TV. And the formula is simple. The more drama you cause, the more likely you are to return for a second, third, and fourth season. So I think that Jen's been watching and like, hey, this quiet thing makes me boring. Cynthia Bailey is probably the only person who's been able to function sort of ride the wave of being boring but slightly interesting and get away with it. For the most part, we like our people on our reality television show personalities. We like them bold, we like them brash, we like them crude, And so I think that Jennifer has been watching reality TV and realizing that look, if I want to make this work, if I want to, because outside of Basketball Wives, what else is Jen doing? I know she has a website, and I only know that because of Sweetie Pies. So outside of Basketball Wives, what else does Jen have going on? You tell me, because I don't know. I remember some lip glosses long ago. Haven't heard anything else about those. Maybe she was ahead of her time because in this day and age of YouTube videos, maybe lip gloss would have been, lip YouTube beauty videos. Maybe it would have been very apropos to do lip gloss, but haven't heard anything else about the lip glosses. She said she has her own fashion website. But outside of that, I don't think Jen really does much to make money that I'm aware of. So she really, really needs not just the check, but the opportunity to promote whatever business ventures she may be working on down the line. But I really think that what's going to happen is that Jen is going to be Brandy. You guys remember Brandy and what happened to her when she and Shawnee got into it, and she basically, stepped to Shawnee and said, look, I don't care if you are the boss, you can't fire me. And she's not there anymore. So apparently Shawnee does have a little bit more pull than Brandy may have given her credit for. So I think that if Jen doesn't tread lightly, that her tenure on Basketball Wives may be coming to an end sooner than she knows. But the good thing is, based on all the drama that she's causing, she's making good TV. I would tune in to see her on a different show at this point, even if she does, if she is kicked off of Basketball Wives. I think that she's really, really, really studied the playbook of people like New York and Nene Leakes and just all of the reality television show divas that we like. I think that Jen has really, really taken pages from the playbooks and learned that I need to really bring it. And so back to my original point. My original point is that I went all the way around the world. I do apologize, but during this charitable event that Evelyn's having, she and Jen have an exchange, and Jen says, oh, for real? Receipts? Is that what we're doing? Okay, so if you want receipts, guess what? I have receipts too. Now, Jen is, she's holding her secrets close to her. She's not putting all her cards on the table. So I'm not sure when it comes to these receipts who they're going to incriminate. Be it Tammy, potentially Malaysia, because I did see, like I said before in the clip from upcoming episodes, we saw that Malaysia sort of went ham on Jen, which makes me think, I wonder if the receipts were actually from Malaysia and incriminating her in some way, shape, or form. Anyhow, you guys, that concludes this review of Basketball Wives. If you haven't been watching, you must tune in and see. Oh, really quick before I go, I have to say this. Clearly, Tammy. Clearly, Tammy is with Reggie because of how he looks and not because of how he speaks. They went to, oh my God, they went to dinner with OG and her boyfriend. And watching Reggie interact was like nails across the chalkboard. He was using malaprops left and right. Like, oh my God, I'm trying to think of the word that he said. Oh, OG's boyfriend said that he was playing basketball in South America, Central America. I forget exactly where. And Reggie chimes in and says, "Yeah, it's nothing like getting that money across the pond, bruh." Bruh, that's not across the pond. Across the pond would be the UK. Okay, so let's, Tammy, I'm gonna need you to get your man a geography lesson. Help him out. If you're gonna have him on television, don't have him out there looking bad, because you know the fans are brutal. So hearing him speak on last night's episode, I'm like, he's a good looking guy. So apparently that's all she needs. Tammy obviously has to be the breadwinner. She's obviously the brains of the operation, and maybe that works for the two of them. But I just had to touch on that really quick. So this time I'm out of here for real, you guys. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share if you feel so inclined. As always, in closing, people, remember to live better, love harder, and at least talk smarter than Reggie. It is me, the Cerebral Diva, and I will talk to you guys again soon. Have a great day.